Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Oh boy, how are you? Hello.
Oh, hello. I'm pretty good. It's been an interesting couple of weeks since we last recorded, but I am
Mhm.
very excited. We are here to talk about a movie that definitely exists.
Okay. Before we even get in this movie, I first note is I don't think I've seen this movie as an adult. So I'm
Oh, for
running
sure.
purely on childhood nostalgia right here. And let
Mhm.
me tell you,
Mhm.
this is the first time childhood nostalgia did not help me through this situation of what we just
Oh,
experienced.
no, it did not. I only really remembered the basketball aspect
Yeah.
and him
I thought it
shrinking.
was a
That is, I
basketball
think,
movie.
I thought it was a basketball movie, and which I guess tracks because again, I said it is March.
March
Let's
Madness,
do a
baby.
sports
Let's
movie.
do
Woohoo!
this. Yeah.
But what I honestly, that entire movie was just a fever dream. I honestly think so.
That
So
is the best
if
way
you
to
have
describe it.
yeah, if you have not watched this as an adult, buckle up or just listen to this episode and pretend you saw it. That might be a better option.
It's better use of your time.
Okay. So, The Luck of the Irish is a Disney Channel original movie, or DCOM, directed by Paul Hohen and written by Andrew Price and Mark Edens. It was conceived as a St. Patrick's Day movie and was first broadcast on the Disney Channel on March 9th, 2001, a week before the holiday. The poo poo description from Disney Plus: when his lucky charm is stolen, Kyle learns that he is part leprechaun.
No,
No,
no. This movie, that is a
that's
lie of what this movie's about. I mean, it's true,
yes.
but it sets you up for failure.
It does set you up for failure because you know nothing about Kyle, you know nothing about his life, you know nothing about what we are walking into here. However, I did take a page from your playbook from last time and I liked the longer description. And so I felt that it was pretty all encompassing. If you have something to add to it, please let me know afterward. Okay. Kyle has always relied on his pot of gold charm to bring him extraordinary luck. But when he loses the charm, he discovers the truth about his background. He is actually part leprechaun. Now, Kyle finds himself in a race against time to defeat the charismatic thief who took the charm, and before he gains control of all the leprechauns. In the process, Kyle learns that he's capable of making his own luck.
Through a fever dream. That's my only addition that I have to add to this.
There's also basketball.
P.S. There's
P.S.
basketball.
Now, I believe that I pick Smart House? No, you picked Smart
I picked
House.
Smart House.
And upon that conclusion, we learned that there was not a lot to be said about older DCOMs.
No, ma'am.
And that is the same case today. So we're going to need something to get us through it. And what are we drinking today, Rachel?
You guys, for a fever dream of a movie, we need a fever dream of a drink. So this drink was actually suggested by Adina to me to get into a festive mood. And I said, send it. That's what we're doing. So we are having, I'm going to hold it up because we have video. Oh, da, 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 da. We are having the top of the morning mimosa, also known as the top of the mimosa. Um,
Oh, I like that better. Top of the
Thank you very
mimosa
much.
to you.
Top of the mimosa to you as
Yes.
well.
And
Okay.
tell us what goes in it.
I'm going to tell you what's in it so that way we can drink because as you guys can
Beautiful.
see, we have art piece on top that mine is not structurally sound. So it is 1 ounce of orange juice, 1 ounce of blue curacao, champagne to top it off, and then you have a little rainbow belt with two little marshmallows as the clouds. The whole time I was assembling this, all I could hear was SpongeBob saying, two, count them, two marshmallows.
Oh, that did not cross my mind at all. Brilliant.
Constantly. I was setting up my toothpick and I was just like, oh, I'm SpongeBob right now. Okay. So let's go ahead and remove our art piece of the rainbow.
Yes.
And Adina, for, it's a little after St. Patrick's Day, but I still think it stands. Slante.
Oh,
Cheers in Gaelic, Irish.
cheers. Oh, thank you.
Hmm.
Mmm,
Look, it's
that's
a
really
green
good.
drink and it's a great green drink.
It's essentially just a mimosa. And I do appreciate that the instructions of this were 1 ounce of orange juice, top it with sparkling wine, and then 1 ounce of blue curacao. And I'm like, that is how I like my mimosas.
I did it differently though. I definitely did
Oh,
orange juice, blue curacao because I didn't know how much was going to fit in my glass and I wanted to make sure. So
oh.
I just did orange juice, blue curacao, and then filled up the rest that would go with my sparkling
Either
of choice.
way,
Yes.
either way, it goes heavy on the alcohol side, minimal on
Yes.
the orange juice side, which
Yes.
is the perfect mimosa.
The appropriate way to
So,
make a mimosa. Now, we've had different variants of mimosas already on this podcast. So we're not going to talk about mimosas and we're not going to talk about what's in this drink because, fun fact, it was created by somebody on TikTok. What facts can I give you? So
thanks,
instead,
TikTok.
thanks, TikTok. So instead, for all of you listening, we're going to talk about the history of St. Patrick's Day in America, also known
Woo
as
woo.
the Americanizing of St. Patrick's Day, because
Woo.
oh my goodness, it has just passed. We're recording this right after St. Patrick's Day, but I think it is very fitting that we talk about this right now. So, I have a question for you, Adina, to kick off this little deep dive that we have. Where was the first United States celebration? What state was it first celebrated in? I will give you options and you
Okay.
choose.
Thank
New
you.
York, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Georgia, or Florida?
I'm leaning Pennsylvania because only my love of The Office, and there is an entire St. Patrick's Day episode.
There is. However, no, it is
Damn
not.
it.
The first recorded St. Patrick's Day, this was actually recently discovered back in 2017. The first recorded St. Patrick's Day celebration in America was in St. Augustine, Florida in the year 1600.
Whoa.
Crazy. So before that, it had been believed that the Charitable Irish Society of Boston organized the first observance of St. Patrick's Day in the 13 colonies in 1737. But alas, it was Florida, the Florida man, if you will, doing the first celebration of St. Patrick's Day. And with what St. Patrick's Day has become, I'm not surprised. But
I'm going to hold my comments. We love you, Floridians who are
oh,
listening. We love
of
you
course,
all.
I say this
Let's
with love and only love.
lots of
But
love.
so though let's talk about that Boston one. Surprisingly, the celebration was not Catholic in nature. Irish immigration to the colonies had been dominated by Protestants. So the society's purpose in gathering was simply to honor Ireland. So it wasn't a religious holiday. It wasn't about the death of St. Patrick. It really was about honoring your Irish heritage through Irish immigrants in Boston. Now, we had the first parade for St. Patrick's Day was indeed in New York by Irish soldiers in the British Army in 1766. But we're going to talk about Philadelphia for a second because, as we like to think, that's kind of, I mean, I watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's like a great show. We talked about The Office. There's this kind of idea of Philadelphia and Pennsylvania being quite the place for Irish celebration. So the first documented St. Patrick's Day celebration in Philadelphia was held in 1771. It was done by Philadelphia's Friendly Sons of St. Patrick's and was founded to honor St. Patrick and to provide relief to Irish immigrants in the city. Irish Americans had celebrated St. Patrick's Day in Philadelphia since their arrival in America. Here's where it gets really interesting and where like just some fun history comes into play. General George Washington was a member of the Philadelphia's Friendly Sons of St. Patrick and actively encouraged Irish American patriots to join the Continental Army. And in 1780, while camped in Morristown, New Jersey, General Washington allowed his troops a holiday on the 17th of March as an act of solidarity with the Irish in their fight for independence. That event became known as the St. Patrick's Day Encampment of 1780. So George Washington, he's the one that really was like, let's make this into a holiday. Come fight for us, and I will give you this holiday to recognize you fighting for independence as well.
We love that. Well done, President
Mm-hmm.
Washington.
Mm-hmm. Now, you might have also wondered why I threw Georgia into the mix when I gave the list of 5 states, because the city of Savannah, Georgia has hosted St. Patrick's Day celebrations since 1824. It boasts a celebration rivaling that of New York City, both in size and fervor. Unlike other cities, though, Savannah's historic parade is always on March 17th. It's not going to be on the weekend surrounding it. Festivities begin more than a week in advance. There's communal rituals, commemorative celebrations, and so much so that it is actually a legal holiday in Savannah, Georgia, is St. Patrick's Day, which is just very, very fun. So where are we today?
We in California get Cinco de Mayo, so that's a national. It's not. Oh,
that's okay. I don't.
I mean, we don't get it off, but it is.
Is it a legal recognized holiday in the state?
Maybe not. I don't know.
Amazing.
Oh no, Cesar Chavez Day.
Cesar Chavez. Either way,
cut that out. My B. Okay, let's continue on.
Save it for the bloopers. Okay, so moving on. So what is it today? So every year since 1991, March has been proclaimed Irish American Heritage Month by a U.S. Congress or president because of St. Patrick's Day. There are a notable number of differences widely observed with the United States versus those in Ireland, but one I'm going to call out, a very common meal that everyone thinks of when they think of St. Patrick's Day in America, including in this movie, is corned beef. However, that is not a traditional Irish dish. That was adopted by the immigrants as they arrived to America. So that is an American dish. They do not eat corned beef traditionally in Ireland for St. Patrick's Day. Now, in honor of us drinking, I think it's important to note that St. Patrick's Day is reportedly the most popular holiday for beer drinking across all holidays. Makes sense. And is the 3rd amongst most popular holidays for drinking in general for all alcohol. So it's up there with New Year's Eve, Mardi Gras, and St. Patrick's Day are the top 3 holidays for drinking anything. And St. Patrick's Day is number 1 when it comes to beer. With that being said, if you're wondering how much more beer is consumed on St. Patrick's Day, you little numbers people out there.
Oh gosh.
According to Wallet Hub, 174% more beer and 153% more spirits are sold on St. Patrick's Day than usual.
No, that's so much more. That's so much.
That's not like 120%. That's almost 200% increase.
That's so much beer. Oh, that hurts my stomach.
Speaking of that, oh yeah, well, maybe this will help make it worse.
Oh, great. Love it.
There's over 13 million pints of Guinness drunk worldwide on St. Patrick's Day, which is equal, in case you're like, I don't know what that means. Give me some better context, Rachel. I'll do that for you. It's equal to over 1.6 million gallons, or nearly 2.5 Olympic-sized swimming pools filled of Guinness.
No.
Yeah.
So much Guinness. That's so much.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of Guinness. I mean, I will just say I had a couple Guinness this St. Patty's Day.
Good for you.
Thank you. I went to our little Irish pub here and had some Guinness, and it was fantastic. a lot of cities celebrate St. Patrick's Day. In case you're
Sure.
curious, there's a huge list of very big St. Patrick's Day celebrations. Some big ones, of course, are Seattle and Chicago. Chicago dyeing the river green, which is always very cool to see. But celebrations have now spread into all different kind of walks of life. I'm going to just be selfish for a second and give a shout out to my dad, placing first in his age group for the half marathon that he ran on St. Patrick's Day, which is the Rockin' Half
Woo!
Marathon. Yay, Papa
Woohoo!
Seedman. But
Yay!
that's how some people celebrate, is they go out and run. Others, known as people who live in San Luis Obispo, are aware of a celebration called St. Friday's Day, which gets bigger and bigger every year. And this year consists of 6,000 to 7,000 people storming the streets of San Luis Obispo, teeny tiny town, and wrecking havoc. So yay, there's lots of different ways to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I would like to sit with a green mimosa rather than destruction of property.
Listen, our alma mater is not always the best.
What? No, it's great. It's fantastic.
Fine. If we want to get into that, I have some great stories, but that we'll save for another episode of the podcast. Perhaps.
Be a little
maybe
special
not.
one.
TBD.
But that is all I have. I want one more thing. I said it already during this podcast. I will say it again. So if you would like to say cheers while you are in Ireland, or if you are enjoying a Guinness, you say that as sláinte, and that is how you say cheers for any of the beverages that you'll be consuming, whether it's this year or moving forward in Ireland.
Sláinte?
Sláinte.
Sláinte.
Yeah. Yeah, it's spelled the way that we see it would be Slainte. Sláinte.
Yeah. Have you been to Ireland?
I have been to Ireland, yes. And
Me too.
I loved it. The trip itself kind of went off the rails there, but I fell in love with Ireland.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. I'm so dumb.
It's okay.
I vividly know when you were in Ireland. And
it's okay. It's fine. That's when also, as you guys also remember, when we talked about Disenchanted, I went to Ekinskerry, Ireland, which is where they filmed Disenchanted. So yes, I have. And I know you also have been to Ireland.
I have. Yes. And there were a few things that I will call out during our retelling of the film that reminded me of my time in Ireland. I was literally only there for 48 hours though. So I don't have much to say.
I'll sprinkle too. We'll both sprinkle.
Thank you. Beautiful. But I absolutely loved it and want to return someday. And we shall see when that is. But I think it's time to talk about some facts about this movie, which again are few and far between.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I was almost going to come to you with about 4 facts. And then several hours before we recorded this episode, I found an interview. No.
Okay.
I found an interview with our screenwriter, Andrew Price, and he provided some lovely quotes about his time working on the script.
Oh, lovely.
I know. I'm shocked. I found it. It was someone who realized their coworker was Andrew Price and was like, I'm just going to ask him questions. I was like, okay, let's get into it. So you might think, where did this script come about? Why a film about St. Patrick's Day? Well, Mr. Price says, I wrote a Christmas script that my lawyer loved, and she gave it to someone at Disney. The person at Disney liked it, but thought it was too edgy. I would love to know what the edgy Christmas movie is.
I do too.
Right.
Okay.
The person at Disney liked it, but thought it was too edgy. I literally just said that. Adina, come on. Let's get into it. Okay. My lawyer said they were interested in a story about a leprechaun and had me mull it over. I pitched the idea, and from what I remember, it all came together within a couple weeks. I wrote an outline, which they accepted. Then I went off and wrote the script. I did 3 drafts over a 5-month period.
Okay. I
And
wonder, like, maybe they saw the Christmas thing, they thought Elf turned to Leprechaun, there's too many Christmas movies, let's
sure,
try something else?
another
Small creature.
small creature, yeah. But he said that what he wrote was pretty much the story that he pitched and outlined, and he was free to write whatever he wanted with just a few caveats. He originally wanted Kyle to be raised by a single mother, and that would have been a very interesting take. I don't think that Papa Johnson really adds very much to this story.
No. Oh, that's
No.
interesting. I think they could have done that.
They could have done it, right, that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
think it would have been an interesting concept, but I feel like a lot of Disney movies are single parents, and it's just
Well,
like,
especially DCOMs back in early 2000s.
"Oh, yeah." And we'll talk about Mr. Ryan Merriman later.
Mhm.
But he said he had a few inside jokes that he was pleasantly surprised made it into the final film. My brother's wife and family were from Cleveland, and they liked that shout out in the end. I also wrote some stories for Star Trek Voyager, so I liked that the Vulcan reference stayed in. I also liked that the final battle between Seamus and Kyle was on the basketball court because one of the early notes from the studio was that they didn't want a final basketball game in my later drafts. So I am glad that they added that in because what else would have been the climax? That weird the Irish sports games? That
Look, I mean, I get it, but I also am like, yeah, I did not particularly like that myself either,
forgot it was a
so
thing.
mhm,
Forgot. Completely
mhm,
forgot. But in case you thought that Mr. Price was on the set, you would be wrong. His involvement ended when they took the third draft and said, "Thank you." And he was never on set or had any role in the production. But apparently that is a rarity for the writer to have a
That
voice
seems
like this.
bizarre, yeah.
I don't I don't know. And you and I do listen to the Office Ladies podcast, and we talk they talk
Yeah,
a lot about how the writers were so ingrained in the acting process, and then they
yeah.
went to other places and the writers weren't so involved on the set. So I guess it makes sense. But to not have any involvement after handing off the draft of the script seems very, very bizarre.
I agree. Like, I get that it's not gonna be the Office situation, that's the first thing that crossed my mind too, but, like, I feel like he'd be there for some points to just make sure that, like, it's capturing and it flows and it works, like, nope, okay.
Listen, again, this was not fully his production. He just gave them a draft and they ran with it, most notably with the final scene of the movie because he was asked about his inspiration of the "This land is your land," and he said, "We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Hold on. Stop. Stop." He said, "I didn't have that in my story at all, so it threw me for a loop. I was a little annoyed at first. No, stay annoyed, sir. But the next time I watched it, I appreciated how that song brought warmth and closure to the story." No,
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 no, I to
no.
say I gagged would be an understatement.
What was I watching? Like, honestly, that's majority of my notes are all caps. What is this? What the fuck?
Yes.
But he did end this interview with a quote that I would love to share with you so we can ruminate over it. "I only wish Disney took me seriously when I told them I had a great idea for a sequel."
No, 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 sir. I don't think Disney needed to take you seriously.
What? What? What would a sequel even look like? I can't
Seamus swimming around Lake Erie, like,
make it a sequel now, and it's Ryan. It's Ryan. The whole time I'm mixing up
it's
Ryan
Ryan.
and
It's
Kyle.
Ryan. Yeah.
It's Ryan Merriman and his child and he has not learned from his parents' mistakes, and he is hiding his leprechaun heritage from his child.
Oh,
Could you imagine? Oh my god. But okay. Apparently though, this film was a success in
I know. I
DCOM
saw
lore.
that. What the hell?
On
This is
premi
not on the same category as Smart House. It's not. I'm
No,
sorry.
not even. On its premiere, this was the highest rated DCOM ever in 2001. So the first DCOM is in the 80s,
90s.
late early 90s, like
Late
90
90s.
90
Under
something.
Wraps is the first one in 1997. I was looking
Thank
at that
you.
list earlier today.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
But still, there's a lot between Under Wraps and getting to Luck of the Irish. I was
there
shocked
was
by
like
how many.
there were like 5 a year.
Yeah.
Maybe not that many, but there were a
Nope.
lot.
Yep, there were.
This was the highest rated ever?
Oh my god.
Come on, guys.
Okay.
Let's get it together.
This is why our generation is blamed for a lot of problems because we did that. That's our doing right there.
I truly I only have a couple of more facts about the movie,
Yeah.
if we can even call them facts. They're kind of just adjacent things. Number 1, this movie was never released on DVD. It only only had a VHS release and then is aired on the Disney Channel and is on Disney Plus. So that is the only way that you can watch it.
Mhm. Okay.
Parts of this movie were filmed in well, the whole movie was filmed in Utah,
Yep.
specifically in Farmington, Utah.
Yep. Mhm.
It looked beautiful, I
It
will
did.
say. The background scenes looked gorgeous.
Yeah.
In making the movie Turning Red, calling it back, our wonderful director that we love, Domi Shi, has stated that the teen transformation aspect was actually inspired by this movie, amongst others.
She took that and made it something beautiful. Oh my
Sure.
gosh.
Did she ever? And my final movie fact is in 2012, The Luck of the Irish was made into an Indian Hindi language television film, Luck Luck Ki Baat, directed by Iqbal Khan. And oh boy,
Yeah.
why I have a lot of questions. I don't know how common, like how many Irish people are living in India, that this resonates enough with the audience to be like, oh yeah, like The Luck of the Irish, that was a classic movie of my childhood. I would love to watch it in Hindi. What?
I would. I actually would. Like I just feel like it would be a better version than what we have in the United States.
Perhaps. But that's like, other than my actor facts, giant question mark, that's like kind of all I was able to find on
Yeah.
this movie. It was perhaps
Barren.
more difficult than Smart House, which shout out if you are watching us. I do have the house wine, which was the wine that we used for our Smart House cover. I just thought that would be a fun tie-in to both of our Ryan Merriman DCOMs.
That
Love it.
was a cute choice. When you sent me that picture, I was like,
Thank you.
I see what you did there.
But I did a little bit of a dive because everything was so barren. And I'm like, the luck of the Irish. What is this term? We all know what it means. Maybe you don't. Would you like to know? Great.
Yes.
Okay.
Indulge
The luck of
us.
the okay. So the luck of the Irish saying began its life during the gold rush years in the US, and people used it as a way of explaining the quote unquote luck of these hardworking Irish miners that they experienced during a solid day in the mines. So our story began at a time when it's gold rush, 19th century. There were various gold rush areas around the globe, but this is specifically focusing on the United States. So it ties back into our St. Patrick's Day in the United States. So when poor immigrants from Ireland started to make their way across to America at a time when the Great Famine was ravishing Ireland, many took up jobs in the bustling mining industry because they're like, you know what? I just need to make money. I'm getting out of my country. I'm going to do an honest day's work. But those that worked in the mines were quickly recognized as hard workers and diligent laborers, and sometimes were delivering better results than their American colleagues. This discovery of fortunes led to the creation of the term because the Irish laborers were working so hard in the mines, getting so much of this gold. Everyone's like, oh, like these Irish people are just so lucky. Like they get all of this gold. It's like, no, they're actually working so much harder to get this gold.
One could say
And
they're making their own luck.
correct. And now we go back to where did I write this? Sorry. Uh, and this whole saying is said to have followed the miners from Ireland into America. And this meaning can be verified in a book by a professor of history named Edward T. O'Donnell, whose book, honestly, it sounds really similar to the book that we see in the movie.
No.
1001 Things Everyone Should Know About Irish American History.
That's the same book. That's just they didn't
It's
want to
honestly the same
copyright
book.
that book.
But, quote, during the gold and silver rush years in the second half of the 19th century, a number of the most famous and successful miners were of Irish and Irish American birth. He then goes on to explain their ability to locate these mining fortunes that led to the use of the term. They're so lucky. But really, let's give these Irish miners their due. They worked really, really hard and they earned this money the hard way. And Americans just saw them as these assholes.
I'm sorry. I'm just is Rachel had half a glass of wine? Yeah, she has. Has anything changed? Do we still sometimes perhaps in America say that people who immigrate here are perhaps lazy? Do we perhaps have that statement? Huh, nothing's changed since the gold rush. Just saying.
No. And there are several moments in this film that do talk about that. I mean, this is a movie all about heritage and finding out where you're coming from and really having pride in that. That's like the whole determination behind this film is Kyle doesn't know where he came from, which honestly is baffling to me. He's 15 years old and not once has he asked where his parents came from.
I write that multiple times throughout my
Yes.
notes. Like I was shocked. He doesn't know his
Agreed.
mother's maiden name, aka he doesn't know his grandparents' name, which I get that like he doesn't know his but like he doesn't know anything. Like
He doesn't
he's
know
dumb.
anyone.
This man is dumb.
They moved from Cleveland. He's not attached to his dad's side either. And we never find out where his dad's family is from either.
Cleveland.
Which, you know,
actually I think they said like maybe like Virginia, and that's when they moved to Cleveland. They said somewhere first.
Half Mayflower baby, half Irish leprechaun.
Sure.
I don't know. Look, we're not at that point yet, but I think we can say, actually, Lin-Manuel Miranda said it best. Immigrants, we get the job done. Because truly, America is a big melting pot of people from all different backgrounds and all different cultures. And it is so wonderful that we come together. And I'll get off my soapbox and we can move on to the next topic.
I just want to say, kind of tying into your soapbox, I don't have this written down. I didn't tell you I was going to do this. I just thought it'd be kind of fun. Adina, what's your heritage?
I think if I did a DNA test, I would be 99.9% Ashkenazi Jew. But my family comes from Russia, Poland, and Germany. But I am on certain sides of my family, 5th generation American, which
amazing.
Is really cool. And Rachel?
Yeah. So both my parents did do 23andMe, which means I don't need to do it because I have the results. Just like put that into a blender and it's me. So on my dad's side, he is indeed 99% Ashkenazi Jew. And his family is from Romania. And then on my mom's side, her dad's family is from Mexico. And then my grandma on my mom's side, her family is just white European, just white little European. Take them all, put them all in a little box, and that's what we are. But so the majority is Ashkenazi Jew, as well as then Mexican and smattering of European all about. But I learned about that way before I was 15 years
Oh
old.
my God. I feel like that was a very big part of my upbringing and just like elementary school. They're supposed to be in junior high. Don't know why I thought it was high school. He's
Oh, that's
15.
my
Is
note.
he
That's my
not?
note throughout this entire movie. Don't even worry
But
about it. We're gonna talk
okay,
about it.
but I actually think that this ties really well into my actor fact segment because it's going to introduce a new segment, a sub segment, if you will, which is, are they actually Irish?
Ooh, I love that. Now, I have a little deep dive too. So I would think we should do my little deep dive and then we can get into Irish or not. Are they
Great.
Irish?
Great.
Who's
Okay.
lying
Love
here?
this. Love it. Please, what is your fun dive?
So again, my first note underneath my tab movie facts says, look, there are none. So here's the history of the potato chip. So
Yay, potatoes! Oh,
y'all know we love a potato on the pod.
I have been trying to work on the cover art and I was like really wanting to work in the photo of us at Potato Land as the cover art, but it's just not working properly. Maybe it will by the time I get back to editing it and editing this podcast. TBD, you will know before we do.
Potato land.
But Potato Land. Oh Lord, okay, so y'all know this is a callback to episode 3.
Yep.
We have a whole rant about our favorite kinds of potatoes.
Yep. So we are pro potato on the pod.
Very,
This pod is
very,
pro potato.
which also goes back to, my Eastern European and your Eastern European roots. We ate a lot of
Yeah.
potatoes.
We like potatoes in all forms and
Love it.
varieties.
Yep.
So let's talk about where
Please.
the humble potato chip comes from. Because I'm going to tell you right now, Riley O'Reilly did not invent the potato chip.
What?
Yeah, I know. So the earliest known recipe for something similar to today's potato chip is from the book Cook's Oracle, published in 1817, and it was a bestseller in the UK and the United States. The recipe for the potato chip in the 18, yeah, wow, that sounded so weird.
Are you sure?
1822. That's a year,
Okay.
right? That's a year.
Correct. That would be 202 years ago.
Thank you. Anyway, so the
welcome.
recipe that was published in 1822 it calls for potatoes fried in slices or shavings. And here's how it reads. Peel large potatoes. Cut them in shavings round and round as you would peel a lemon. Dry them well in a clean cloth and fry them in lard or dripping. That is the original recipe by William Kitchener in the Cook's Oracle for the very first iteration of the potato chip. However, that's not what a lot of history books will tell you.
Just a quick side note.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would liken peeling a potato to peeling a lemon.
Not
all.
in any world.
I don't know if I've ever thought about peeling a lemon, really.
Wait, no. I mean, I guess you could peel a potato. So this is saying that you're not putting the potato into the frying. You're putting the potato skins. So you could.
No, I understand.
It would be painful. It would be very painful to do. You could go in around that way.
I would have.
Or you would go in around
Lemon was the wrong choice. Apple.
Or
would have been a great choice.
Lemon.
Who peels a fucking lemon?
I was gonna say me, but I use it for cocktails to get like a lemon rind and do
a little
like,
bit, not a whole fucking lemon.
Well, sometimes you gotta peel the whole lemon.
All right,
if you need
let's move on.
So let's talk about what really like the myth. There's a legend associated with potato chips, and oh my god, there's a bug. Video podcast.
You went cross-eyed.
Enjoy this sweet video content, everybody.
Ooh.
There's a legend about potato chips.
Great.
Let's talk through this legend.
Hi, Winnie. Winnie's making an appearance. Hello.
Hi, Winnie. She was jealous that Adelaide stays in every episode now, just sleeping there. Um, so the legend says that the creation of potato chips was created in Saratoga Springs, New York. And it was decades later than that first recipe. So by the late 19th century, there's a very popular story attributed to the dish of potato chips about George Crumb. He was a cook at Moon's Lake House, and he was trying to appease an unhappy customer on August 24th, 1853. The customer kept sending back his French fried potatoes, complaining that they were too thick, too soggy, or not salted enough. Frustrated, Crumb sliced several potatoes extremely thin, fried them to a crisp, and seasoned them with extra salt. To his surprise, the customer loved them. They soon came to be called Saratoga chips, and the name persisted into the mid 20th century for a
Hmm.
potato chip. A version of this story, so like I said, it's kind of a legend. Version of this story was popularized in a 1973 national advertising campaign, which manufactured packaging for chips, claiming that the customer, the unhappy customer that Crumb was trying to serve, was Cornelius Vanderbilt. And that's who was unhappy with the chips, and that's who then enjoyed the chips that George Crumb created.
That
Um,
track, entitled
yeah,
Rich Man.
Yeah, I was gonna say douchey rich man, but same.
Well,
Uh,
same, but
so
different.
same, but different. So Crumb was already renowned as a chef at that time. He owned a lakeside restaurant in 1860, which he called Crumb's House, and the Saratoga Chips brand name still exists today. In the 20th century, potato chips spread beyond chef cooked restaurant fare and became mass produced for home consumption. The Dayton, Ohio based Mike Sell Potato Chip Company, founded in 1910, identifies as the oldest potato chip company in the United States. So we've been mass
Oh,
producing chips since 1910.
so not Emerald Isle.
Surprisingly, no. None of this was
Weird.
done in Ireland or by an Irish person. Um,
But the
I know.
spuds.
But spuds. Well, it's kind of funny because
Well,
I'm going to talk about how we got to flavored chips. And there's a person.
oh,
Uh,
yes.
we're going to
Amazing.
actually tie in spuds and Ireland in a second. So, an
Amazing.
idea originated by the Smith's Potato Crisp Company, formed in 1920. Frank Smith packaged his chips in grease proof paper bags and attached a twist of salt and sold them around London, because the potato chip remained otherwise unseasoned until the 1950s. After some trial and error, in 1954, Joe Spud Murphy, the owner of Irish Crisps Company, Tato, and his employee Seamus Burke produced the first seasoned chips, and they were flavored cheese and onion. So, yes, we do
Yes.
have a little Erland tie-in here of cheese and onion flavored chips being the first ones. Now, if I were to ask you, what's the first flavored chip from America? What flavor do you think that would be?
Barbecue.
You are absolutely right. First flavored chip was barbecue, and they were being manufactured and sold also in 1954. So that is the truest of the American chip flavors is barbecue. One
Love
final
that.
thing that I just want to talk about because it's something that I really like: Pringles. Now,
Mm.
Pringles are officially branded as potato crisps because in
Mm.
the US, Pringles could be called potato chips, but in Britain, they must be called potato crisps. And they have to be able to be distinguished from traditional crisps because they do not meet the definition or standard identity for potato chips. They're made by extruding or pressing a dough made from dehydrated potato flour into the desired shape before frying. This makes the product that's uniform in shape and size, which allows them to be stacked and packaged together in rigid cardboard or plastic. So, if you ever look at a can of Pringles, even here in the United States, they will not say potato chips on it. They will say potato crisps. So, they are not a
Mm.
true potato chip. They are a potato crisp because they didn't want to do different branding for two different places. And that,
Fascinating.
everybody, is the short history of the potato chip.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well done. Oh my God. Oh, good dog. Okay. Now, we learned that the original potato chip is not, in fact, Irish. So, are our actors? We're going to start.
No,
Okay,
they're not. Sorry.
I'm gonna
not trying to
I'm gonna
spoil.
preface it by none of them were born in Ireland, if that is what you're asking.
We're talking heritage.
We are talking heritage. So I'm going to start with Mr. Ryan Merriman as Kyle Johnson. Obviously, he is best known in our hearts on this podcast from Smart House, but also known for a variety of other roles, including Pretty Little Liars. That was a fun surprise. But so when this movie came out, he was 17 years old, playing a 15-year-old. I'm actually pretty impressed with Disney for picking an actual teenager. Still do not know why middle school is okay. Well, now I'm thinking, no, do you turn 15 in 9th grade?
I certainly didn't. I know I'm young for
You
my grade,
didn't.
but
I think you turned 15 in 9th grade. So he's probably certain junior highs, especially when my parents were going to what is known as junior high, not middle school, was 7th through 9th.
I know 6, 7, 8. I've never heard of 7 through 9.
My mom's middle school or junior high was 7, 8, 9, and high school was 10, 11, 12.
Have we talked about this on the podcast, or have we
feel
just
like
talked
we
about
have.
this in person? 'Cause
No,
we've
I
talked
think
about this before.
we've definitely talked about this before. But anyway, he was only 2 years older than his supposed character. Still think this should have been a high school movie, which leads me to I'm so glad we have a video podcast now because I have a video to share with you all, dear viewers and dear listeners. Honestly, the audio is also great if you are only listening to us as an audio podcast, but I'm particularly excited to see Rachel's reaction to this video. Now, this is from 2018. It was a video that E! News shared for St. Patrick's Day.
Hi, I'm Ryan Merriman. You may know me from my role as Kyle Johnson on the critically acclaimed Disney Channel original movie, Luck of the Irish. Yes, it is St. Patrick's Day, but more importantly, I want to bring some awareness to something that, quite frankly, has been under wraps for far too long. Okay. What I'm trying to say is, basically, I'm the OG Troy Bolton. Okay, there, I said it. There are just too many similarities between The Luck of the Irish and High School Musical. Okay, just hear me out. Both movies star two ridiculously handsome basketball-playing popular jocks. These said jocks have deep, dark secrets they don't want anyone to know about, as well as above-average singing and dancing abilities. And each close out the respective films with a musical number about unity? Really? Really? Both have an inner conflict about following in their family's footsteps. An overachieving leading lady who thinks that athletes are dumb, and their best friend, sidekick, walks around with a basketball all day. Like in class, around school. Like that's normal. Oh, and wait, I can bet on it that you guys didn't know this. Kyle's teammate Drake, he went on to star as the MC who makes Troy and Gabriella sing together on New Year's Eve. Coincidence? I don't think so. Okay, sorry, I lost it a little bit there. Yeah, no, I'm fine. I can't do this anymore, okay? I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go. I thought this was gonna be something different, but this is what it's about, okay? To you lifelong Luck of the Irish fans, what I'm trying to say to you is that we're all in this together. No, history will know who we are. No matter where life takes us, nothing can break us apart, okay? Was that, again, High School Musical, wasn't it? Okay. All I'm saying is give Luck of the Irish the credit it's due. And you remember who dribbled and danced into your hearts first. Happy St. Patty's Day.
To say I am speechless is an understatement. Look at that. You made Adelaide perk up from her sleep based on what we just watched. Look at this. This is based on what we've just watched.
What was that? What was that? I watched it and I was cackling and could not wait to show it to you because who was thinking about this? Who was the marketing person at E that said this is a great idea? What? Who made this connection to begin with? I'm sure it's somewhere on Reddit, but who thought this is a good idea to make it into a video with Ryan Merriman? What? What is happening?
I'm so sorry, people who are only listening. Maybe this needs to just be a video segment so you could just see the pure look of just my mouth agape. My eyes don't understand what I just witnessed. My ears don't understand. Look. I don't look. High School Musical, adorable, sweet, wholesome, amazing. Luck of the Irish, unfucking hinged. I'm sorry, Ryan Merriman. I love you. I've always loved you. But no, I get what you're doing here, but you're wrong. You're wrong. Where's the wholesomeness? Where's the wholesome?
Sure. Look, in talking about the superiority of High School Musical to Luck of the Irish, there is absolutely zero question. High School Musical is a superior movie. However, the points that he brought up are not wrong. And
They're not wrong.
I saw
but that doesn't mean
Russell
he's
versus
right.
Russell versus Chad holding the basketball, I fucking lost it.
Is it bad that in my head, this is incredibly offensive? Please cut this out. Is it bad that in my head I said Latina brainiac and black best friend? Like, he's not wrong.
Listen. We see that in many DCOM.
I don't like that formula. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I already said my family, half of it's from Mexico. Am I a smart little Latina? Yes. Do I like that overachieving brainiac Latina who can't do what she wants to do? No, I don't like that.
Oh, I was going to say, but it's you.
Maybe a little bit.
But Rachel, the question I have for you, is he Irish?
No.
Yes.
What?
Ryan's paternal grandfather, Earl Eugene Merriman, was mostly German and some English and Irish ancestry. His paternal grandmother was a German immigrant. His mother's ancestry includes English and more distant Irish and Scottish relatives.
I should have said yes. I said no because I'm angry. I should have said yes. Look at him. He's a white man. Of course he has Irish descent in there.
I know many white men who are not Irish, but okay.
Oh, like all of the ones I know have some Irish somewhere in there.
That's fair. So next up, I should have ended with him. That was Mobby. My bad. I should have ended with that and then gone into the break. But here we are. Next up, we have Henry Gibson as Riley O'Reilly. The worst name. And why is Riley spelled like that? Like, not O'Reilly. Obviously, O'Reilly is spelled correctly, but all Rileys I know are R-I-L-E-Y. Anyway, I digress. Unimportant. So this is not his first stint as a leprechaun. He famously played a leprechaun on a Bewitched episode called If the Shoe Pinches, which aired in 1970.
Cute.
No, I thought Adam was home. He sadly passed away in 2009, which was 8 years after this film came out and 1 week before his 74th birthday. And I look at this man and I think that is not a man in his 70s. That looks like a man well into his 80s.
Yeah. Again, not to be that person, but I just said my dad won his age group, which was the 70s age group.
Yes.
To me, my dad and him are not in the same age at all.
Not the same decade at all. No. Honestly, all of our parents are aging like fine wine. Well done.
Really. Wait, cheers
Miller
to our
and
parents.
Steve Cheers to our parents. Parents, we know you're listening and we love you.
We do. Cheers to you guys. The real
Cheers, guys.
iconic people.
The icons of our lives.
Mhm.
But Rachel, is
Yeah.
he Irish?
Yeah, I would think so.
You are correct. He has English, Irish, German, and distant Dutch ancestry.
Do you know why? White man. Like that's
White man. Okay. Next up, we have Timothy Amundsen as Seamus McTiernan. And honestly, that is literally my only note is Lassie. And are those like most of my notes? For those of you who have absolutely no idea what we are talking about, the wonderful Timothy Amundsen plays the iconic character of Detective Carlton Lassiter on the show Psych. Cheers to you.
Please go watch it. I'm fairly certain it's on Peacock. Go watch it if you haven't. So good.
One of my all-time favorite shows. And that is a beautiful show. So seeing him as this ridiculous caricature of an Irish man with the accent and the step dancing, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
And I don't know. But Rachel, is he Irish?
Yes.
That's correct. He is 50% Slavic, 25% Norwegian, 12.5% English, German, and 12.5% Irish.
Do you know why I said it? White man. That is literally the answer.
White man. Okay. Next person. Here we go. Thurl Bailey
Not
as Russell's dad.
Not
well,
Irish.
that's quite an assumption to make, Rachel. Just kidding. So Russell's dad is played by former NBA player Thurl Bailey. His character has absolutely no necessary role. Like, honestly, the reason he's in this movie is, in my opinion, who knows if this is true, is that it was filmed in Utah. He lives in Utah. He played for the Utah Jazz. He is a broadcast analyst, or was broadcast analyst for the Utah Jazz and the University of Utah. And they're like, hey, basketball.
I had one more reason. There
basketball.
It is. And he was told it was a basketball movie.
And poor Russell could not be worse at basketball.
Well, until he gets his lucky coin.
Nope. Even still, not so great. And look, I grew up in a basketball household. My brother plays basketball. He played in college. He's played as an adult. He is a basketball coach. I know what good basketball looks like. This is not it. And I understand they're junior high, but not it. But Rachel, is he Irish?
Is Thurl Irish? I'm gonna go with my I'm gonna go with my I have a deciding factor. Is he white man? Is he not? He is not white man. He is not Irish.
No. Okay, my final. It's not even a fact. It's just a name of a person. Marita Garrity as Kate O'Reilly Johnson. Is she Irish?
Yes.
Maybe. I couldn't find out.
I mean, she was my favorite. She looked so great that I just want to say she's honorary Irish, even if she's not.
Garrity is an Irish last name, spelled the way that she spells it, but there was no evidence on the internet suggesting otherwise. So I'm going to say yes, but maybe with a giant question mark. And that's all I got.
I think that leads us perfectly into taking a little break. Let's top off our little glasses. And we're going to take a little break and talk about this unhinged movie. See you guys soon.
We are back.
And we're back. And before we get into this movie, I do just want to call out, Adina, it doesn't look like you're wearing any green. Where's your green?
Green cocktail.
No,
I have a green painting behind me.
You aren't. Doesn't look like you're wearing any green.
Are you wearing green?
This is a green shirt. This is
that
a green
looks
ass
black
shirt
to me.
That is called lighting. That's a green shirt.
Made it worse.
Okay, well,
You
it's green.
definitely did not prove your point. But
It is.
anyway,
I'm just saying I
after
felt like we needed to be
you know what?
festive.
I'm sorry. I didn't get festive. I will acknowledge, but let's get into this movie and listeners, viewers, however you are taking in this podcast. I just want to apologize up front because I would say 95% of my notes are just all caps yelling. So I was very passionate about this movie
Yeah.
in that I don't know what I was watching. And
Look,
we get the most. Sorry, I cut you off.
no, I think you're about to tie into what I say because a lot of my notes also are in all caps. But I also want to say, if I sound like I'm on a soapbox for racism and stereotypes, I am, because I'm shocked that this movie doesn't have the disclaimer at the beginning of it that we've seen
Oh
on
my
some.
God, right?
Literally,
do
my very
they still do that?
They do. They do
Oh,
still do
God.
that, but not on this goddamn movie, because my very first note is literally, I hope this actor is actually indigenous and not like the recycling guy. You know, the very iconic recycling commercial that has a Native American crying because people aren't
Mhm.
recycling? He's fucking Italian. He's not Native American. So all I can hope is that this actor who's doing that dancing in that outfit is an actual indigenous person.
I did not look into that, but I will just say the opening for this movie in general is just the most intense shit I think I've ever seen. Like it's like beating on a drum and you don't know what's happening. You just hear like the voiceover of a teenager and you're like, "What?" I didn't understand the voiceover of this film at all. It did not need a voiceover at
No,
all. It's very
no.
inconsistent.
Yes,
It's very awkward.
it is.
So,
Though I do think future us, save this for later. You and I, Adina, we need to. Somebody just rang my doorbell, and I don't like that. I don't like that
okay,
one
hold on
bit.
1 second.
Okay, Adina, this is for future us. This is just, let's file it away, future us. But after doing all of this and having this podcast, you and I need to have an edible of some sort and watch this movie, because
Oh my
maybe
God.
maybe
Maybe
that's
then it
what we
makes
need.
sense.
Yeah,
That's what we're missing.
we're missing the
No,
green.
we're missing any form of intoxication because, like, obviously, I want to watch these in my right mind so I can take notes, but like, I should probably also rewatch all of the movies we watch intoxicated in some way because it's hysterical.
Every
Anyway,
time we finish recording, we should just go watch it again. We're at a good
sure.
spot at that point.
There
Okay,
we go.
let's start this
Um,
movie.
but again, with this weird ass voiceover that is happening, Kyle says a line. What if I'm a person who doesn't have a heritage? Sir, do you think you just appeared out of thin air?
I agreed. I wrote that exact line down too. I was like,
What?
that in no world does that make sense. Do you not understand?
No.
Which, like, it kind of makes me not like Kyle as a character, because to Bonnie's point, he doesn't try. He's not actually ever doing, like, it makes it seem like he actually is a pretty dumb dude. Like, if this is his first initial like reaction, I think he's dumb.
I mean, we know that he's just some mindless jock. Bonnie says it several times during the movie. But basically, the reason behind this nightmare that Kyle is having is that Heritage Day is coming up and Bonnie is in charge of Heritage Day. I have a lot of questions. Mainly, does every single person have to participate in Heritage Day? Because there were a lot of kids in that auditorium.
I think so. I will say, we had to do a heritage style thing for my 8th grade graduation. Every person made a quilt square. They were all displayed on a big old quilt when we graduated 8th grade. But that is not a presentation. That's not being dressed up as anything. That's just a quilt behind us for graduation.
I think that that's fine. That is normal if it's just a grade, but the whole school? That's so many kids, and if it's a public school, that's hundreds of children.
And Bonnie's planning the whole thing.
Bonnie is not a Mexican name as her heritage is. I
feel like they decided that she was Bonnie, like Bonnie Lopez or whatever at the end of the movie. She was like, oh, she needs a heritage.
Anyway, but Kyle is realizing, I'm 15 years old and I don't know where my family comes from. Maybe I should know. And then he goes and is completely gaslit by his parents on multiple fucking occasions.
It is very concerning that his parents say, we're American. Like, I am so uncomfortable listening to his parents gaslight him that I'm just like if you guys are, that word gets thrown around a lot. That word gets thrown around all the time. This is the definition of gaslighting.
If you want to know the definition of gaslighting, just watch the first 10 minutes of this movie. It's horrible. And I don't know, seems odd to me that a boy in middle school doesn't know where his family came from. And maybe my family was just more open about talking about these kinds of things. But I feel like this should have been a project far earlier on in his schooling.
Yes.
Anyway, so we learn that Kyle is very lucky. And he has a coin that he always puts around his neck. And he has not once in his 15 years of life asked what this fucking coin is and why he needs to be wearing it all the time. Rachel, yes?
Because he's dumb. He's no critical thinking skills.
He's so stupid.
But so he's asking his parents, they're gaslighting the hell out of him, and he wears his coin so that he plays his finals, and he slaps the ball to win the game in the quarterfinals, and now he is a great champion and everybody freaking loves him because this man has all of the luck.
And he says in his fucking pompous voiceover, we were going all the way and I was the reason why. Fuck you, Kyle Johnson. What? Terrible. He's so horrible. He's honestly really terrible. But, as they're celebrating, whatever, cheerleader comes out. He gets a kiss on the cheek from a random cheerleader. Don't you worry. She comes back later. We never learn her name, but she does come back later. And so it is the next day.
Here's my note. So he is going through school, and my actual note is he wearing the same outfit that he wore during Smart House? Because that long sleeve red shirt with the blue stripe and the pants, I swear I have seen Ryan Merriman wear that exact outfit before.
Probably. But this whole scene, the transition from basketball game to day at school, the dancing with the child with the boombox. What is going on? If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm really sorry. It's really hard to describe, but it is challenging. But then we learn, okay, Bonnie is planning Heritage Day for the school. And Bonnie, there is an interaction between Bonnie and Russell that makes me fucking furious. And I'm going to tell you why. Bonnie says everyone's ancestors came from another country. And the stupid fucking friend says, yeah, I'm part Cherokee. Sir, that is the exact opposite point that Bonnie is making. If you're saying you're part Cherokee, then you are literally a Native American, native to America.
I also wrote that exact line down and said, what the flying fuck is this writing? Like, how did an adult wrote this? I would understand. I would forgive a child, a tween, a teen writing this movie. But no, a grown-ass adult woke up one day and decided to sit at their little typewriter and type that line into existence.
If he had said literally any other ethnicity,
anything.
We don't know. Like, he could be from Africa. He could be from the Caribbean. Those are not native to America. Don't say that you're part Native American to prove her point. This pissed me off so much. I had to pause it and take a breath because I was so pissed off. And I had to rewind it to be like, is that really what fucking happened? And
Yeah, and so as Adina fumes, Adina's fuming over there. Instead, Kyle ends up telling Bonnie, unironically, that he's from Cleveland. That is his answer. Which really basically,
because that's what his dad said.
That ends the conversation. That's all he knows. He knows nothing other than goddamn Cleveland. So we cut to a new scene, and Kyle is taking a test, except he's not taking it. He's zoning out. And so we get to your anger, I'm about to say. We get to the end of the test, and Kyle just marks something down, and his teacher walks on over to him and says, "You shouldn't have done that. You know I take off extra points for wrong answers." Sir, what? He said he should have just left it blank. It would have been better if he turned it in blank because he subtracts points for wrong.
That's what the SATs
answers.
do.
But he's
these are
allegedly he's in middle school. I still can't wrap my brain around that.
Are you saying the score starts at 50%?
And
he subtracts a point or however many questions are on the
test?
And adds or subtracts?
Like, does this teacher
not know?
Just
leave it blank.
Right. Does the teacher not know how actual people, like, again, an adult wrote this scene, though I did write, I will say, I did write, wait, the teacher subtracts wrong points for answers. How is he only lucky in basketball then? And then we see that he actually got everything correct. So, like, cutesy, whatever. Fucker. But, like, he does get everything right, but he's been zoned out. And so we go home.
And we go home. And he asks once again, I would like to know my heritage. He is a curious boy. And he asks this while his mother is serving what I described as a bowl of lettuce and noodles. Because that's I
think there was some tofu in it. There was some tofu.
There was some cabbage that was ornamental. You were not being served that piece of cabbage on the edge. Very weird. And then my next line are, his parents are smoking something, because this is just beyond, like, what the fuck?
Well, and his mom straight up asks him, why are you so interested in your heritage? She knows he's already said Heritage Day is coming up. Like, let's just take everything else out of the equation of him wanting to learn about himself. He has already said Heritage Day is coming up previously. And she says, well, why are you so interested in your heritage? You dumb bitch. Sorry.
Ma'am.
I'm so sorry.
Ma'am. But here's my question. What is his father hiding? Look, at this point in the movie, there's a lot of things that I have questions about. But number one, why would the dad not share his heritage? The dad's not hiding that he's a fucking leprechaun. Maybe that's what the sequel is. It's that the dad is another mythical creature.
I think it goes to the fact that this was originally written as a one-parent household. Like, the dad has nothing. They needed to figure out something, so let's just make the dad gaslight him as well. Like, they have nothing. I guess he changed his name, but, like, we'll find that out later.
Why? Why does he change his name?
But didn't need to. It's so stupid.
Didn't need to change the name. He changed his name from Smith to Johnson. Really? You don't think that Bob Smith is enough of a fucking alias already? But Kyle then says another line that makes me cringe. I never really thought about my mom's family. You got two parents. Like, Bonnie says to him, well, what about your mom? She's half of your DNA. Huh, I never really thought about that. You idiot.
Yeah, it was
fucking idiot.
That felt like a personal attack when he's like, I never thought about my mom. And it's like, oh my God. So, okay. So we're going to just, we get this question as he is sitting in the library. And I will say this is one of my favorite scenes, only because of those classic colorful Mac computers that gave me every ounce of nostalgia that this movie didn't give me. This one scene gave me everything.
And Bonnie coming in with a bandana on her head.
I'm here for the whole scene, the one scene. It's all I needed.
one scene. It's beautiful. I'm gonna go close my door.
You want to pause it?
No, because it's just happening right now when he's not
Okay.
in here. Okay.
So
then we cut to the next day, and Kyle and Russell are shooting hoops, and they're again talking about their heritage, and they see a bench with flyers on it for like an Irish carnival. And he's like, "Oh, it's Irish." I'm like, "There's fucking four-leaf clovers on the flyer. Of course it's Irish. These boys are stupid." Sorry.
these boys are
It's gonna be
stupid.
really annoying for me to edit later.
These boys are stupid, but I'm gonna do a couple of call outs here. So one, that we found out again, like we said, his dad has changed his name, doesn't give them any information. We found out that he's had that gold coin since he was a baby. His mom gave it to him. And so we see the Emerald Isle potato chip poster, as well as Seamus McTiernan's Saint of the Step, which I loved as somebody who loves the Lord of the Dance. To be able to see the Saint of the Step, I was living for it. I listened to the entirety of the Lord of the Dance soundtrack during St. Patrick's Day, and I don't regret a single minute of that. So I was very excited to see that reference in this movie.
I think that this is perhaps the only part of this movie that I remembered other than the basketball was this particular scene.
Yes.
And there's several parts that I want to call out. Number one, the book, which is everything you ever wanted to know about being Irish, but were afraid to ask. Why would anyone be afraid to ask? Who wrote this fucking book? I need
that
a lot.
That was my exact question. Is like, why are you afraid to ask? Maybe that's a different book. That's a different book that you need then, not about Irish heritage.
Then we have our first introduction of Riley O'Reilly. We do not know he is Riley O'Reilly, and he has a whole thing about his leather shoes that really never comes back and is kind of pointless. And he starts making fun of Kyle's shoes, and Kyle's like, "Well, they're basketball shoes." Two things wrong with that. One, he's not wrong. Kyle should not be walking around in basketball shoes because basketball shoes are meant for the basketball court. Number two, those were not basketball shoes.
That was my exact note. I was like, well, they're not. So
they're not.
Try again.
Those they look like Keens, honestly.
Yeah.
But then the CGI of all the quarters going into a pile. Okay. The amount that CGI has progressed from Smart House to The Luck of the Irish, I will give credit where credit is due. It's not good, but it's several years better.
I don't know that it is.
Not this particular part. In other parts, I'm like,
notes. Multiple notes of mine are what
you don't like the this compared to Tornado Mom?
Tornado Mom
anyway,
and Lassie in a Pot of Gold are the exact same. Cannot be.
They are exactly the same. Okay. And then we see Seamus McTiernan, aka Lassie.
Which
go,
we
Lassie.
will only be referring to him as Lassie from here on out. Just so everybody knows, Lassie. When we say Lassie, we do mean the character of Seamus, but physically I can't say that. So he's Lassie.
Because he is always and forever Lassie to both of us. But this particular scene, so it's him coming onto the stage and a bunch of Irish step dancers. And this is what I like to call confetti. Where did it go? Because the continuity of the confetti in this scene was really all I could focus on. I was not focused on their dancing. The confetti goes from abundant to sparse, back and forth and back and forth. Back and forth.
I have two notes again where I couldn't focus on anything in this scene. One, I literally wrote, I was like, if he's the real Lord of the Dance, what's his TPM? What's his taps per minute? And two, my continuity error is every time they went to a wide shot, I paused it looking for Kyle and Russell. They're not in that shot. They're not in any single wide shot at all. And it bothered me every single time I paused it.
No.
100% of the time.
And it's very clearly not Lassie doing the step dancing.
No.
Very clearly. It is some Irishman in a black wig.
Oh, God.
But at this, and then, okay. So at this point, Kyle just starts to dance. And apparently that's just something that all leprechauns do when they hear Irish step dancing, is that they have to Irish step dance, because then Lassie's 2 henchmen come over, knock him over, and steal his lucky coin. Swap it with a fake necklace.
Ugh.
It is the next morning. Mama Johnson, it has gone full-blown Irish over fucking night and is talking like an Irish woman and cooking like an Irish woman. And she's saying to him, well, I was always high. Like she admits, we are Irish, and I didn't want you to have to deal with the prejudices that our people had to deal with. And actually, Kyle does say something relevant. Mom, that was like 100 years ago.
How did Kyle even know that? I'm going to be honest. It took me out in that moment, because how did he know that? He's dumb. It's been established. He's dumb. But I will say his mom absolutely is gorgeous. When she's in her full Irish, just old outfits and her curly hair. Oh, she is stunning.
She's the Merida hair. And I know Merida is Scottish, but it's Merida hair.
It absolutely is. And it's just, so she has an accent and he starts to have an accent. And this might only make sense to Adina and Adina only. And that's probably for the best. You can pause this afterwards, so I'll give you more information. Okay. His accent coming in and out sounds so similar to somebody that I dated. So similar. And it also was very jarring to hear throughout this whole movie. I was like, oh God, I've heard this way too many times.
I don't know who you're talking about.
That's good. I'm not going to name names on the podcast. I would never name names.
No, we'll talk about it after.
But,
but then we have disgusting plates of food.
Look,
massive amounts, like the biggest Irish breakfast I've ever seen in my fucking life. And then also a bucket of chum is really all I can call it.
When I was in Ireland, I ate incredible food. It does not need to be this style of food. And I want to give Ireland and Irish people some props here, because they have incredible food. I had some of the best oysters I've ever had in my entire life in Galway. I dream about these oysters. So that is not all encompassing.
No, but I will say, if she is worried about Kyle being treated poorly for being Irish, she's probably very old.
True.
And that is how they cooked back in the day.
That's true. She is very old.
And then Kyle, is it Kyle that says, I guess it must be the luck of the Irish. Okay, roll the credits. Let's go. Boom.
I have that at the very, very end again, where he's like, oh, he said the movie. But so he also says, and so starts the unluckiest day of his life. And I said, start bad luck montage. Let's roll tape.
I said, unlucky montage time. same, but different. But yes, he has a comedy of errors, spilling food on himself, missing tests, losing his homework, blah, 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 blah. And then it gets to big basketball game, and he just cannot make a fucking shot. No. And like he's in first it's practice. I apologize. First it is practice, and he has to make 10 shots, 10 free throws before going home. And he has made 0 when Bonnie walks in, and the rest of the team has already made 10. And Bonnie is just fucking focused on Heritage Day. Like, you need to chill. Why isn't such a big deal?
Also, I'm going to give Bonnie a little bit of a little shit here, because she calls him a hot-headed Irish person, not to be stereotypical, but she calls him a hot-headed Irish person when he gets frustrated for not making his 10 free throws. Also, timeline issue here. I have a lot of issues with the timeline of this movie. He has quarterfinals, then a day, he eats bad meal, wakes up, goes to Irish festival, loses coin.
I think you're already wrong. I think this is already off.
I probably am. But all my frustration here is he has to do this whole
2 basketball game. They would never have.
They have them back
2
to back.
major basketball games 2 days in a row. Like it's 3 days in a row. Because the 3rd day is the final.
They don't have it 3 days. No, the semi and final are back to back. Quarter is not because he literally has a different day. All this to say, my issue isn't any of that, which it should be. My issue is his coach, they have to shoot 10 free throws on the day of the semifinals before they go home to prep for the semifinals, and then they come back to go to the like that's
who's driving them? Who are these parents that are picking them up and taking them home, or the bus driver? Like that's so unnecessary.
Junior high. If they were high school, it would make sense. But I hated the timing of this movie. It really bothered me throughout the entire movie.
I hate a lot of it. But then so Adam came in for part of this movie while I was watching it, and Kyle goes on to say, like, this was the worst day of my life. And Adam said, worst day of his life? He's had a pretty good life.
He's never had a bad day of his life. Adam's not wrong at all.
And then it is time for the semifinal basketball game, and everybody's booing him. These are small, these are pubescent children. Like,
literally, this was another time in my notes where I say, again, I ask, how old are they? The extras during this basketball game look like children, and he looks like he's in high school. How?
Because he is in high school.
Is he? This is going to be a recurring theme throughout my notes. Is just I hate it. I know that we understand he's in junior high. My brain cannot handle it.
But they win the basketball game because of his friend Drake, who later goes on to introduce Troy and Gabriella. I'd like for it to be the same universe. That would be very funny. That he moved to Albuquerque.
He did.
But so they get home, and
I love this scene. He's really upset, and his mom says, you know, that he should be hurling instead of playing basketball, which, if you guys don't know, we'll learn later in the movie, is a sport. I watched when I was in Ireland. Dublin was playing in like a big championship game, and it was very exciting. But hurling is an Irish sport, and so he, though, doesn't understand. And he says, "Mom, I'm not sick. I just played lousy." And I laughed. I did laugh out loud at that moment.
But she then says the line, I just need to drink a bit of warm Bonnie clobber before I go to bed. What?
Nasty. Did you look it up? I looked it up.
I did look it up. It means curdled milk.
What? So she wants warm Bonnie clobber. She wants warm curdled milk.
Honestly, gonna vomit. But it is the next morning, and Kyle has shrunk. Well, that's weird.
Sorry.
We get to school. He's now the same height as his friend Russell, whereas the day before he was taller. So that's funny. I wish that there were more facts. Like, how did they make this happen? Like,
I was actually
before.
I was so interested in the actual production of this movie because I did actually think it looked really good. It was not CGI that he was short. They did something to either make him taller or make everybody else taller around him. Unknown. I would have loved to know that information.
But Kyle arrives at school and everyone is so mean to him. Like, over one game.
Well, that and wearing a pretty dorky bucket hat.
It was the early 2000s. Bucket hats were cool. But one kid said,
I have 3 bucket hat notes now.
The bucket hat is wonderful. It's so peak early 2000s that I love it. But one kid says the line, "Way to choke, Johnson." And why does that sound so dirty?
Because it is. Because Johnson is the name of a penis. So to say that you're choking the penis is dirty.
So it is then at this point in the film. It's at this point in the film that Kyle finds out he does not actually have his lucky coin, because he told Russell earlier on it's solid gold, but then they're doing an experiment with magnets and it sticks to the magnet. It's like, oh shit. And then he takes off the bucket hat to reveal red highlights.
Yikes.
So he's turning into a leprechaun before our eyes. And then Russell says that he likes his highlights. I'd love to get highlights, man. But my dad says no, he's got this thing about Dennis Rodman.
Loved that line. That was
Love that
was
line.
the one line written for the adults.
Peak humor. And then he just goes in and out of his Irish accent. And I'm like, what's going on? And Kyle is, what's going on? So he goes home and sees teeny tiny mom. Now, in my mind, a leprechaun is not merely a human that has been put through a shrinking machine, as we see here. A leprechaun's just a like short, squat looking person.
You know, I've seen descriptions both ways of leprechauns.
All
Of them
right.
being, I like that. I'm like, oh, I've seen them. When I've seen a leprechaun, they go both ways. They go short and squat, and they go little teeny tiny person. But like, I think if I were to picture a leprechaun, I think I picture teeny tiny person. I don't think I
Really?
like I know.
No.
To me, that's more of like a gnome, goblin, troll, etc. style squat person.
Yes,
Whereas like,
but
person
in my
can
head,
be
those are all.
leprechaun.
No, if you look at like the Lucky Charms mascot, he's the same size as all the children.
Well, because they're children, they're teeny.
But they're not like pocket size.
Hold on. I'm Googling leprechaun right now. I just want to see what the first image shows me. That's all I'm going to do. We're Googling it. I can never spell this word. It's fine. That was my biggest challenge.
It's a challenging word to spell.
Leprechaun. Images. Images. Okay.
While Rachel is looking for an image of a leprechaun, we learn that the family's luck, it's a teeny person.
Look at that teeny
it just
person.
looks like a regular person that's like smushed together.
Yeah, teeny person.
No, it's not like a 1 foot tall human. I'm sorry. I will die on this hill.
Yeah. Okay, me too.
Okay, really do this after.
We're going to take a poll. You guys tell us. What is a
You tell us.
leprechaun?
But he now learns that not only is he Irish, he is half leprechaun because his mother is a leprechaun. We also learn that the O'Reilly family's luck is in this coin. Perhaps, just a thought. You should have told him how important it was.
That was my exact note. I literally was like, okay, let me hear you out here. The most important thing ever to your family that literally determines if your family can exist in this world is on the youngest person in the family, and you don't tell them that they hold this power. Dumb. No wonder Kyle's so dumb. Everyone's dumb in this movie.
Literally everyone is dumb. And we learn here that Kyle's grandfather has lived in this town for Kyle's entire life and owns the potato chip factory, yet they have never met. What? Why would he move to this town and then not seek out his family? Seems really stupid. Also, if he's like 800 years old, as we assume, where are the rest of the O'Reilly clan? Is the entire O'Reilly clan's luck, both in America and in Ireland, based on this tiny coin that some stupid American kid has?
That was my thing. So we find out that the coin has to be with the youngest person in the clan. So allegedly, we learn a couple of things. Kyle's the youngest. 2, that the entire O'Reilly clan is screwed because of Kyle and his family's dumbness. So like,
and not to perpetuate a stereotype here. Many Irish people are Catholic. Family. Catholics have big families. There's one,
and he's the youngest at 15. No, he's not. There's somebody else.
Way. But anyway,
so they go to this potato chip factory to try and meet with Riley O'Reilly, but we can't get in. we find out Riley O'Reilly says that he has no daughter because she shouldn't have married Bob Smith, Bob Johnson, whatever. So as all of this is happening, Kyle sees Bonnie and sees her group and realizes there's a tour happening. So he goes with Bonnie to crash this tour.
Several questions about this scene. The chase scene is absurd and hysterical, but several things happening. Number one, why does the potato chip factory have such strict surveillance? Seems unnecessary. Number two, how is this tour relevant to the Young Achievers group? They're not going and talking to the businessman. They're literally taking a tour of a factory and seeing the factory workers. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being a factory worker, but if you are part of this Young Achievers group, I assume that these kids, or at least their parents, have set their sights a little bit higher.
You would think.
I don't know.
None of this movie makes no sense. Nothing in this movie makes sense.
But the chase scene ends with Kyle falling out of the potato chip thing saying, "Whoa, I thought I was baked, LOL." Takes his bucket hat off and has Vulcan ears.
I did like that. I actually liked that quite a bit. That was cute.
I did too.
But so he and his grandpa start kind of going that he's learning and they're doing a West Wing situation where they're having a really important conversation while they're walking. But his grandpa says, and I quote, "You should make your own," in regards to shoes. It's good for the soul. And now it is written.
No. This is what he says, word for word. When you make your own shoes, you're the master of your feet.
No, that's not what I'm talking about, though. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you should make your own. It's good for the soul. And now in the captions in this movie, it's spelled SOUL. I don't think that's actually how it's written in the script. I think it is SOLE. So I just thought that was a little punny moment that happens where he says that it's good for the soul, talking about creating shoes, because I think it's actually good for the SOLE.
But it never ties back into the plot of this film, the shoes.
Dumb as shit.
Anyway, so now we learn that the whole time his mother thought that the grandpa stole the coin as a joke or a prank or whatever. We find out no, Seamus, aka Lassie, stole his coin. And then he, meaning Riley O'Reilly, starts to play a flute, but he does not put the flute in his mouth properly. And I'm not even a flute player. And I noticed this. And Bonnie asks him to stop. And he said, "I'm Irish. That's how I manifest despair," while playing the flute.
Look, I have many feelings right now as a flute player. Many feelings right now. But I will say, I'm not even going to talk about the issues with the flute playing. I'm going to start talking about the racism in this movie and the stereotypes in this movie, because that's the bigger problem.
Correct.
He's not a caricature. Irish people are real people. Let's not reduce them down to stereotypes.
Look, I 100% agree with you. We should not. But also, they're supposed to be leprechauns, not just Irish people. So
let's not stereotype the leprechauns. Anyway, so
all the leprechauns listening, we don't appreciate you being
but can you also tell us what you look like?
Okay.
But so they leave the factory. They meet up with Kyle's mom and dad. They have a little moment. Let's not even get into the moment because they decide they're going to go after Lassie. And so they meet up. They find the RV where Lassie is, the saint of the step, and Kyle's dad, unnecessary character, decides he's going to go and see what he can see. And he's told to make a bet with him because the type of leprechaun that Lassie is cannot turn down a bet. They love gambling. So if you get into a spot of trouble, make a bet with Lassie. So goddamn
right. But this then leads to car chase montage with weird ska music.
Hey, hated this.
Hated it. They couldn't find more picturesque streets to
My actual
drive down.
I don't even care. Like, it's fine if it's
No,
not
I
as
care less
whatever,
about that, but
like,
it was horrible.
my note literally just says, "This goes on for so
long.
damn long." Like, you could have shaved at
been
least
30
5 minutes off this
seconds.
movie
Yes.
if you just, like, cut this. But they throw corned beef and cabbage, which we learned is not a traditional Irish dish, lassie. It is an Americanized dish, lassie. So just want to put that out there, lassie.
But then they get a flat tire, and we have classic trope of, well, couldn't be any worse. Bonnie, why would you say that? Then downpour. And they're all just sitting in the rain in this convertible in the open car. They're not even trying to seek shelter. I don't even understand. But then again, all of a sudden it stops and there's a rainbow. What is this fucking movie? What am I watching?
Look, two things. One, Bonnie's speech is the cheesiest shit of all time. I'm an American and Americans don't give up. I can't. But I hated this whole part, and I couldn't believe how much more of the movie there was to go. So I'm going to just move us along, because somehow they still have basketball finals. Lest we forget, somehow they have to tie this into a basketball final. So we're going to move along to they chase this rainbow.
Great. They chase the rainbow. At the end of the rainbow is Seamus's RV. They must not have gone very far. Seamus probably should have gone a little bit farther for his afternoon snack. Anyway, this scene is weird. First of all, this RV is the stuff of nightmares. Second of all, you have Lassie and his goons in this restaurant singing Irish shandies, and one of them is the song Molly Malone, which when I was in Ireland and did a whole day trip out to the what was the name of the place where the Harry Potter was?
Oh, I didn't do any Harry Potter stuff in Ireland.
Anyway, when I was on a tour in Ireland, our guide sang the song Molly Malone to us and was like telling us that it has unofficially become the like national anthem of Ireland, not Scotland. Oh my God. Sorry. Jesus Christ. I think
it's the national anthem of Scotland.
Well, you know what? Earlier on, they had bagpipes. Excuse me, aren't bagpipes Scottish? I have a lot of questions.
Actually, they're not. But also, they had it twice in this movie. But there is a tie-in. If you notice, they play the bagpipes differently than a Scottish person would be playing.
It was a very different bagpipe.
So they're actually Irish people do have bagpipes in their culture as well. Okay.
Third thing that I had a problem with was all of a sudden leprechauns have magic.
Okay, so
he can open the safe. Magic.
So Gramps opens the safe, and he wants to take all of the gold, and Kyle is like, no, man, we're just taking what's ours and we're leaving. But no, I know you're saying that because he's a leprechaun, but I'm gonna still say that it's racist nonetheless. They're saying that he's racist, being greedy.
I'm saying that the movie could have ended right here with him taking the coin and getting the fuck out of the RV, putting the rest of it back, and movie over.
100%. That's how I thought the movie ended. Okay, so what happens now is Lassie comes back in a weird thing, snatches Grandpa, and then we see him outside. He also snatches Russell, and they make a bet that Kyle can beat Lassie at sports. Kyle's dumb as shit and doesn't know how to make a bet correctly, so he just says generic sports, and they start to do They start to do Irish games, and they are transported to back in time, forward in time, other country, other continent. Could not tell you.
I need some leprechaun lore. But specifically these leprechauns.
Some lore.
Anyway, so we see a variety of games being played between them. It ends in a tie.
Yep.
And Lassie's like, I'll be taking the coin now. He's like, what? No, you didn't beat me. He's like, you didn't win. We tied. He's like, nope. The bet was, the bet was that you have to beat me, not that lose. Like,
Right. Kyle had to win, not. Okay. Hold on. Okay. The bet was Kyle said that he could beat him in sports, meaning Kyle would win. By them tying in their Irish games, Kyle did not win. Kyle did not beat him. So Lassie
seems dumb to
was
have.
saying
Seems dumb that it's an even number. Anyway,
that's a whole.
but we learn the ultimate plan of Lassie is to take all of the luck of every leprechaun in America. Do you not have enough, sir?
Dude, Lassie is I don't like Lassie in this movie. I mean, I don't like Lassie. But so Kyle decides to make one more bet, and he decides to be real careful about how he phrases this bet. And he says that I will beat you in basketball, and if you lose, if I win, if you lose, you will have to spend your times within the confines of Erie, meaning Lake Erie with Cleveland.
Rachel, that's a spoiler. That's a spoiler.
It's not a spoiler. Everybody should know this shit.
It's not a spoiler if you're reading it with captions.
Yeah, which I was.
Because it very clearly says Erie. Instead of Ira, which is anyway. So they're magically transported to the middle of the game. Excuse me, not even the middle of the game, the end of the basketball game. And these fucking grown ass men are on the other team, and the ref is allowing this. What the fuck? No one is questioning that an old man is chained to the backboard. What?
This is where, look, this movie already was kind of like, okay, this is quirky. Once this scene happens, I lost it. I couldn't handle the last 15 minutes of this movie, you guys. I actually implore you all to watch this movie so you can experience what we all experience, because like this is the most I've said it so many times.
It's unhinged.
It's just so we get, and in fact, like at one point, Kyle is like, "Don't you think he's a little big to be in junior high?" Which is in my notes. I'm like, "How are they in junior high?" And Lassie can't be playing junior high. His goons can't be playing in junior. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this.
I hate it.
How does nobody notice this shit?
Because when they win, when Kyle and Russell somehow win without Kyle's luck. For some reason, Russell can dunk. He somehow channeled his NBA father into this play. Whatever. Apparently, something that really bothered me, but is a tiny minor thing, is the fucking shot clock never stops, even after they score a point, and it needs to stop. Anyway,
it's junior high. They don't stop the shot clock in junior high basketball.
We get angry Lassie, angry redheaded Lassie, but he like goes full leprechaun, but is still large. And I'm confused again. I need the leprechaun lore. And no, so they lose.
Yeah.
And he now has to spend the rest of his days on the shores of Erie, Cleveland.
Lake Erie.
The CGI of him shrinking is terrifying.
Oh, yikes. Big yikes. Big
horrifying. Yikes. And then fucking Grandpa's still on the backboard.
So
no one has gotten Grandpa.
So they come back. So they like have this weird like mirage moment where it's just the handful of them. Okay, Lassie's gone. They come back, and somehow Gramps is still up there on the hoop.
Still up
and
there.
we still he gets down eventually because he tells Bonnie's dad, like, well, we're looking for well-rounded people for our scholarship, for our full ride college scholarship when she's in junior high. Kill me now. I don't understand this movie. I hate it. But we cut to
Right. Lest you think that was the last scene of this movie, you would be wrong,
Yes.
dear listeners.
So
No,
wrong.
we still haven't had Heritage Day, which has been the pinnacle of everything. We have to come to this moment and we see Kyle step dancing while wearing a Cleveland Browns shirt.
Okay, can I read to you my exact notes that happened, word for word, verbatim? Typing. Hey, peep the Israeli flag in the background. Wait, no, shut up. Is he singing This Land Is Your Land? I cannot with this right now. That is the exact
Hold on. First of all, glaring miss on your part. Did you not notice his final pose and the giant pit stain in his armpit?
No, I couldn't handle it. I don't want to see his pit stains. No.
He like poses like this.
Yeah,
and there's just a giant stain. It's not even a dab. I don't even know what the fuck. And now they're singing, and everyone is slowly, way too slowly. People are standing up in the audience and singing along. And it takes so long. It's such a long scene. And how does everybody know the words to this song? Because I've got to be honest with you. No, I do. But a lot of Americans don't even know our national anthem. This isn't our national anthem. What's going on? What is happening?
I will say another note that I have.
And the freeze frame. The freeze frame ending of him and Bonnie with their arms around each other. I just, what?
So I will say for all you listeners, I do sing This Land Is Your Land to Adelaide every day, but I do sing it as this cat is your cat. This cat is my cat, as one does. You sing to your pets. And my last and final note is, and I quoting myself here, quote Rachel 2024. I mean this in the nicest possible way. How did this movie get made?
I don't know.
How? That is what I am left listening or feeling, dear listeners, is how did this movie get made?
I don't know.
I was speechless after this movie.
I feel like at this point in recording, I am now sufficiently drunk enough to share my feelings, and that this is how intoxicated I should have been while watching this movie to properly understand what's going on. Because we've watched some bad movies on this podcast. This is really up there with the worst.
This is something else. This is honestly, Luck of the Irish gets its own category, in my opinion. Like, this is a special category of movies of like, look, really?
It's if you told me that I just dreamt this up one day, the plot, I don't know. I have very vivid dreams, and in my dreams, sometimes I'm watching a movie and it has absolutely no plot and makes no sense. And then I wake up and I'm like, that's fucking weird. That's what happened. That's what this was. This could have been my dream.
So Adina was laughing earlier because I said I was in Ireland earlier, and part of my trip from hell is I had COVID. If you had told the world that this was written up with somebody's fever COVID dream, yes, 1,000%. I believe that could have happened. I would. You're in Ireland. You have the step dance, and you have the green hills. You have the leprechauns all surrounding you as a tiny person. Like, you could have absolutely believed that this is a COVID 100%. Fever dream.
There were just too many conflicting storylines that they do not come together cohesively at all. It's like 5 movies in one. And none of them are good.
It's the wildest. Honestly, I want everybody to watch this movie so that we're not alone in experiencing this. Like, if you watched it as a kid and you're like, I love that movie. No, I beg you, don't watch it as an adult and then tell me that you still love that movie. And if you've never seen it before, get yourself a very nice cocktail and sit in front of this movie and watch it. Get yourself some actual green and watch this movie, because I don't know.
And with that, thus ends our discussion of The Luck of the Irish. I'm very glad that we had a fun cocktail to pair with it. We hadn't had a cocktail in a while.
Yes. This was great.
That
I'm
was
glad you
fun. This was
suggested the
super
cocktail.
fun.
This was perfect.
I'm glad that you didn't look any further. But speaking of looking further, what is our next episode going to be?
Look, listeners, Adina, I'm not doing this shit to you again. I'm sorry. I'm going to put it out there right now. I'm not DCOMing this shit. I can't. I
That's
can't.
fine. We
And so
need a
I'm going
break from the DCOMs. This is enough DCOM for a long while.
So I've given you, we've done a Pixar, we've done a DCOM. I'm taking us straight to Disney here because we need our palates cleansed
Yep.
with a Disney movie.
Absolutely.
And there's no, I wanted to keep with our theme, our color theme, if you will, for The Princess and the Frog.
Yay! Oh, I love The Princess and the Frog, and I haven't watched it in so long.
This is such a good movie. I know it's a good. I've seen it as an adult.
It's
I
so
know it's a good
good.
movie and I know
The
there's probably so
music.
much out there. The music is great. We haven't had a good music movie in a while, so let's get
We've
some good
not.
music. Let's get this is us kind of going to our roots of like truly
Love
Disney
it.
Rewind, what we love here. So I want us to watch The Princess and the Frog.
I am very excited for that. And again, we're just going to reiterate our recording schedule is going to be a little bit more flexible. Rachel has a lot of travels, so whenever that episode happens, we are very excited to bring it to you. And thank you for joining us along on this fever dream of an episode. And now, dear listeners, please join us as we raise our glasses to the this episode. Oh my God. Rachel. Cheers.
Slanche. Cheers, everybody.
Bye.
No.
Oh no.